is the big name. That's I know what I wanted to throw at you. See, this is where I just want to get a feel for Warrior fans and how many of them are like me and are just, worry about down the line, and how many are kind of like you who are, it's all about the present. And here's what I mean. I'm going to use this generally. All right. The New York Knicks just got Mikal Bridges. Damn. Really good player. They gave up 4 unprotected number 1 picks for him. If I tell you in 2 days that the Warriors have acquired Paul George, and it cost them 2 of their young players, let's say Kuminga and Moody, and they gave up a couple first-round unprotected picks in 26 and 28, would you be willing to do that deal? Would you be willing to take on a Paul George, pay him for 4 years, and know that you're going to give some unprotected picks to the LA Clippers?
Sonny, you'll be proud of me. The Knicks are different because they're younger. So I say that to take you down the avenue of they could last longer by tricking those picks off because they're kind of still in their prime, a lot of their guys. But here in Golden State, it would hurt because you feel like that window is not going to be open for a long time, so you'll feel the brunt of losing those picks. But when it's all said and done, what just transpired last season cannot happen again, and I think Paul George is worth it. And when Curry and Dre are gone, that'll be what we call the total rebuild, and we'll deal with it then. So I would be willing to meet that price, Donnie. You say we'll deal with it then, but if you're dealing with 2 straight 25-win years, you're not going to be happy. You're just not. And you're like, let's not kid ourselves. If the Warriors are a 25-win team 2 or 3 years down the line, but they didn't win a title this year, I don't think we're going to be saying, well, it's still fine. We had to do that for Curry. When you're winning 26 games, we're going to be pissed. Even when, let's say they don't win another title, you sit back and think of 4 parades. You don't think a fan, even the diehardest of them all, be like, you know what, we're cool. We're cool.
Dublin Marge on the YouTube chat, it's not the same deal. The Knicks have more picks, and Mikal Bridges is younger. So I think what Dublin Marge is saying is it wouldn't take 4. Fair enough. That's why I threw 2 out there. But there have been a lot of deals over the last year where teams are parting with those first rounders. Yeah. So 888-957-9570. Are you for the Golden State Warriors getting Paul George? It's that simple. Because they're in on him, according to multiple reports. Or is it something that, as Evan Giddings would say, boy, you hate to see it. You hate to see him going after Paul George.
Well, what I hate to see, using Evan's line, is him not make the playoffs and go through what we just went through.
Well, again,
I still haven't gotten over it. How weird and awkward was it?
But okay, so this is what I don't...
It can't happen again.
Why
Under
not?
Steph Curry's watch.
Why not?
Because then something went wrong. Some calculations, something went wrong.
Okay, you went into this season thinking they could win a title.
Yes,
I did. They didn't even make the playoffs. Now you're sitting here. They're in a tricky spot. They're in a very tricky spot. But you're like it's possible they might not make the playoffs.
Right, but I'm being real.
But I am being real too. Like,
it was tricky why they didn't make the playoffs if you really feel that Draymond's absence in regard to his suspensions threw everything off. That's a reality.
Okay.
And I get both, somebody saying, "Goo, that ain't," but it is. And that's why I feel like this team, it's not indicative of who they really were, man. Yeah, they got 10th. They earned every part of it. But there was some fluke stuff, I believe, that won't happen again with Draymond being on his best behavior, man.
Like, do you realize how ludicrous that sounds?
And they signed him up. They signed up for this, so it's not just me doing it, man.
So
they did it.
That's fine. But do you, you're really going to sit there and say Draymond will be on his best behavior?
Now, I'm not saying
I can't
getting thrown out of game or getting suspended. That's going to happen. But I'm talking about missing a chunk of the season like he did this last. That's over. Why
would you think that, though?
Because he's got to grow up, and they didn't make the playoffs, and somebody should be, hey, dude,
okay, that'll
behind
work.
closed doors,
yeah, that'll work.
Your ass is the reason we didn't make it.
That'll work.
We can sit here and blame Clay and Wiggins. Your ass is the reason we didn't make it. You can't do that again.
Okay. You know what?
You
guys are right. I'll be a good boy. I mean, come on.
But that's what they signed up for.
This is where I differ from other people too. I don't think guys get a 4-year contract and then say, okay, I'm going to be on my best behavior. I think they say, I got a 4-year contract. I'm set. Wow. I'm set.
So
it's
my
last deal.
Up?
Well, the stakes are a lot lower.
And when you come at me,
why did Draymond Green?
With the energy,
why did Draymond Green?
I go at the team.
Why did Draymond? Okay.
Like, they signed up for... You're right.
So you're not going to hold Draymond accountable?
No, I'm saying I think the shenanigans are over. I think there is a pulse, Steiny, to where he's looking around saying, you know what, doing podcasts, being on TNT. I don't think he... I thought the joke was on him when he was going at Gobert because his team wasn't in the playoffs, and he had a lot to do with that. But I think highly of the player, and Steiny, I think he's going to grow up, man. And Horace Bird on the YouTube chat telling me, Guru, you're way off. For what? I'm not trusting the guy.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are trusting the guy. And I feel like he may not get suspended. I'm willing to say, you know what? He may not get suspended. But I'm not willing to say, well, he will definitely be on his best behavior. I mean, how stupid do you think I am?
I'm not Nostradamus. I'm hoping that, and that's what
he's
Joe
0 for 2.
Yeah.
He's 0 for 2.
Well,
he punched a guy 2 years ago, and he got suspended for 27
you're
games.
talking to me, the listeners, and the organization, because they're doing the same thing I'm doing, buddy, is hoping this man can contain himself.
Well, but that's the point. If I am the Golden State Warriors, as of right now, I'll be damned if I'm looking at the next 3 years saying, well, Draymond's just going to play 70, 75 games a year. Like, you have to allow for the fact that he might not, I think. 888-957-9570 is the number. Paul George, in or out? In or out on Paul George? It's that simple. You like Paul George, the player. Michigan man, he's in the city. What's up, Michigan man? How you doing, man?
Hey, how you guys doing, Steiny, Guru? Nice to hear you back, too.
Right on,
all
man.
All healthy.
Yes, sir.
Good, being yourself. The only thing is, I think you're still on some of those meds, and it's doing some things to your head.
Who, me or Goo?
Me.
What in the world are you talking about signing PG to $200 million when he's 35 years old? What are you doing?
Trying to win a chip.
Well, giving PG $200 million when he averages 55 games a year for 5 years, that's a worse deal than Draymond's deal. You're complaining about Draymond's deal being a bad deal that screwed everything up. This is even worse.
Listen, I love you. I just don't like you guys, you and Steiny, and you in particular, both of you, coming at me as if this is my decision. You guys got to keep this same energy and put that bad boy to Joe Lacob and Mike Dunleavy, because they are the ones that are going to pull the trigger if this happens. But from a basketball standpoint, it's not your money. I'm worried about next season, and Paul George in a Warrior uniform makes them more competitive than the Warriors that we saw last year.
According to you.
Yeah.
That's your opinion.
No, that's a fact.
No,
There's
it's
no
not.
way Paul George comes here, Steiny, and they miss the playoffs. There's no way.
Are you crazy?
This team is devoid of talent, and Paul George will make them better. Quit worrying about tomorrow and 5 years from now, and none of us might be around. Let's worry about next year, and Paul George helps us. Quit living like that, because you don't know if you're going to be around. Cash in the chip. Let's go. They didn't make the playoffs, and people picking the phone up like the Warriors is their checkbook. We want to make the playoffs, and Paul George, it helps us do that. Let's go.
Yeah, you think it does.
It does. You're worried about that. We don't know what's going to happen. listen, Draymond, they signed up for the Draymond experience. They got to hope he keeps himself in check. We cannot sit here and not go outside when it's sunny waiting on the rain. You got to go live.
Before the season started, you thought the Warriors were going to make the playoffs, right?
I did.
They didn't. So I don't care that you think they're going to make the playoffs
and
for sure.
I don't care if you don't care.
Well, I'm just saying.
I'm just telling you how I feel, and the Warriors feel. Maybe Paul George can help them be a better basketball team.
Thank you. You just said maybe. That's what I wanted to hear. Well, then don't say there's no way they miss the playoffs if they get Paul George. I mean, guys could get hurt. I'm just going to tell you, is Paul George a hell of a player? I don't know how it would work. I'm not, if you're asking me, Steiny, do you think the Warriors will make the playoffs with Paul George? I'd be like, yeah, probably.
Right.
But who knows?
Right. And that's why, Steiny, I'm doing what you do. You're right. But you feel better about it?
Do you? I don't necessarily feel better getting older. I don't.
But okay, go ahead.
No, I understand the direction they're going in, but to me, and again, if you're asking me to take on a 34, 35-year-old player, I'd probably say, fine, bring on Paul George. I don't like the idea. I think
because their options are really limited right now, Steiny.
They
are honest.
Okay. Well, then, but Mike Dunleavy was at the podium yesterday and talked about patience. So,
and then we get this report. If accurate, that they're going big.
I'm sure they are.
I said fish, big game hunting.
I'm sure they probably are. 888-957-9570 is the number. Are you as adamant as Goo about getting Paul George in here?
And I started it's so funny, man. You're a master at
what?
It's 50-50, but you're 50-50. You have the energy like it's 90-10. And I'm just saying, you're right. There's a possibility they can bring in Paul George Butler and not make the offs. It's highly unlikely.
I disagree.
But I would feel better about my Warriors and our Warriors if they make a move like this.
That's fine.
And I think you and a lot of people are leaving Steph and Dre and that championship pedigree. You're kind of leaving them for dead. If they get a caliber player of a Paul George, PG-13, I'm not saying where they can go, but they'll be a problem.
You think they will. You thought they were going to win a title a year ago today.
I'll own that.
And they didn't make the playoffs.
And I'm not by myself.
I mean, oh my God. The thought of next year, what if you know who Paul George might be? You know who he might be?
Give it to me.
Blake Snell. He might be Blake Snell.
And that would be bad.
Well, you don't just trade for Paul George without worrying about the future. You
Baker had a great text on the chat. The Curry window should be the agenda. And I think that's what this move signals.
There's also a super chat. Thanks to Ion for $10 saying, Goo, you're on fire.
Oh, boy. I'm just happy. Well, I don't know what I'm happy for. There's no baby yet. We might be pregnant, but hopefully something happens and they get a player. And if he's Paul George, I'm excited. And you know what, Steiny? I'm one of those dudes. It may not work, but I know, unlike the Giants, they tried.
Right, but if it doesn't work, you're going to come back in 2 years and be super pissed and not acknowledge what they did a year or two before to put him in that position, and you will hold it against them at that time for something that you agree with them doing now, I think.
I think you've been with me 6 years. I don't live like that.
If they are not a good team in a couple years with no draft picks and no Steph Curry, you're going to hold it against them. You're going to hold it against the Warriors.
The dynasty. I'm kind of expecting that, and that's why I'm all in, ready to get naked and jump in the pool, because let's throw everything at this last chance. And when that day comes, Steiny, we had a good run.
Okay. I know. That's what Goo wants. Listen, I'm not saying I don't want it. It is obviously an avenue they're thinking of going down. I'll probably repeat this a lot over the summer. I I hate the idea of having 3 or 4 guys on this team that you're counting on more than any other players on the team to make it through a whole year and the playoffs. We saw what a grind those are. And I just think it's unrealistic to think that 3 35-year-olds are going to be able to last that long and play at that high a level for the entire season. 888-957